Alright guys, so this week I'm going to attempt to knock out some of these requested videos that I've been stockpiling. So if you've put in a request for a video and I said I would do it, keep an eye out this upcoming week. I was asked a while ago to talk about my favorite foundations for dry skin, and as with all of my videos, there's a lot of thought that goes into them. Some of you have caught me on this. So I have had 10 to 12 or more foundations kind of getting put through rotations to really determine which were the absolute best. I've managed to narrow it down to 6 foundations for this video, but one thing I'm going to do as we progress through this video is to tell you why, because each of these foundations kind of serves a different purpose. So I'll definitely be discussing coverage as a major factor in this. I'm going to start with very light coverage, your tint, and then work my way up to extremely full coverage in this video. And then I'll talk about the different purposes of these foundations. One of them is better for travel, one is better for photography, one is better for the sun. And I have to make a confession before we get any more into this video. I really wanted to put some more drugstore foundations in this video. I have one. I really wanted to, and I feel that it is very difficult for me personally to find a drugstore foundation that I really, really, really love. I feel like it's easier for oily skin types, and I don't quite know why. Part of me wonders if it's because of the types of ingredients used to add moisture to a foundation. They tend to be usually a little more pricey, and I think that it's easier to make a foundation formulated for oily skin that costs less. But I do still have one foundation that is not just good for the price, it's good. And one other comment, I do not have any powder foundation in this video. I like some powder foundations, but I wouldn't put them in my absolute best picks. I think that powder foundation on dry skin, I'm sure you guys already know, it can be a lot more difficult to work with. It can work if you're very well primed and your skin is quite moisturized, but in general, I like liquid and cream foundations more. Starting with the absolute lightest coverage foundation, I have the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Hydrating Tint. This is $14.99 at Ulta. And the price seems to vary depending on where you get it since it's drugstore. I've never figured out why that is. There's not a standardized price. But in my opinion, if you are looking for a tint, meaning you just want the bare minimum of coverage, I think this is the best option. And I picked this over a lot of my pricier products. I have the First Aid Beauty Tint, which I love, but it is more expensive. I have Tarte's BB Cream, which I also like, but it's also more expensive. I just think that this does the job so well. I figure that if something that is $15 can pretty much do the same thing as products that are $30, then that is going to be my top pick. But I do have a con with this. Of course, you know me. I have pros and cons with everything because that's the reality of life. The con with this is that its shade range is a little limiting. So the shades that I have are Classic Ivory 10 and then Natural Ivory 20. I actually find Classic Ivory 10 is a better match for me, which kind of surprised me, but I think it's all undertones. I thought that this might be too light and wasn't sure about this one, but in all truth, this one it's almost the same level, but more pink, and this one is more, I would say, neutral. I feel like this is opposite from my expectations. In my head, the pink shade is usually the lightest one, and the neutral will be after that. So Neutrogena has it reversed. That's just something to keep in mind. I do think that they're the same color, just a different undertone, if that makes sense. Which is why I like numbering systems like MAC and CoverFX's so much more than just random numbers like this. So that's my only criticism. I feel like it's possible to really buy the wrong shade for yourself, which I obviously did do. So I do think it's a really great product if you are able to find a good match. And that said, since it is such a light coverage product, even if it's not a perfect match, you can usually still pull it off. My next pick is a light coverage foundation, but one that I would say is buildable. You can build it up to medium coverage, and that is the Kogendo Aqua Foundation. Now this, I think, has been reformulated, and I'm kind of really upset about it because, in all honesty, out of all of my foundations, this is my absolute favorite. This foundation, 110% of the time, without any fails, makes my skin look absolutely gorgeous. The thing about this foundation that I love so much is that I get complimented on my skin when I wear this. People don't even realize that I'm wearing foundation. They compliment my skin. Another extreme perk with this one, this is the shade 213. It is probably the best foundation match I've ever found in my life. The very unusual thing about this foundation is that it seems to not be consistent within the aqua line as to what the consistency will be. 213 is a fair olive foundation. If you do have fair olive skin, this is one of the best color matches that you will ever find. But it's runnier than foundations within this same line. And I do kind of suspect that that might affect the coverage, because like I said, to me this is a very light coverage but buildable foundation. Other people call it medium. So I'm just going to say that 213 was light coverage for me. However, now that I'm seeing they reformulated it, maybe they changed that. And it seems to have a new price too. It's gone up to $67 now. So I will continue to baby this because I really do want this to be my, wedding day foundation, event foundation. I think it is beautiful. My next pick is the Julep Cushion Complexion. This is a product that I kind of have some mixed feelings about, but I also really love it. In fact, it's the foundation that I'm wearing today. What I want to comment on specifically with this is that a lot of times you will see stick foundations being sold as travel foundations. This is what I think is the ideal travel foundation for dry skin. Stick foundations, in my experience, are just not the best product for dry skin. I do own several of them. I can make them work, but this just works better and it's easy to carry around. It does have a little applicator at the end and I do blot it all over my face with it, which makes it pretty simple, but I still like to go back in with a sponge and even everything out. A couple of comments with this foundation, it's a little open-ended as to whether it's a concealer or a foundation. It's just called a complexion stick and they intentionally want it, Julep intentionally wants it to be left open-ended. I definitely prefer it as a foundation. I think that it is a medium coverage foundation. And because of that, it's a light concealer, which I do appreciate. I appreciate the fact that I can go over my face with the foundation and then just build up exactly where I need to spot conceal. I don't really like having to grab a separate concealer. It's actually one of the reasons I don't like using concealer, because you have to find an exact match to your foundation or your concealer sticks out. And I don't even know what's worse, having acne stick out, scars stick out, or having your concealer color stand out. TBD. To give you another pro, this contains turmeric, which I find really does help me to fight off acne. You know the experience of putting a foundation on and you had a little bit of redness maybe, but when you take your foundation off, you can see that your acne has worsened throughout the day. It's the exact opposite with this, which obviously is something I love since I am prone to acne on top of having dry skin. But the other major con that I've really just got to spit out is the fact that you get 0.18 ounces for $30. That fact makes this per ounce so much more expensive than the Coquindo I just talked about, more expensive than YSL foundations, more expensive than Giorgio Armani. It's almost $200 an ounce, so it's pretty expensive that way. But I'm willing to pay for the packaging when I catch it on sale at Ulta, and I have noticed that this does go on sale pretty often. It was in the last 21 days of beauty. You can usually catch this for between $15 to $18. So I would personally say if you're interested in this, don't spend $30 on it. Keep an eye out for sales. So the colors that I use the most are 130 Ivory and 140 Buff. Ivory has a little bit more of a pink undertone to it, but I actually really like that for concealing under my eyes. And then 140 Buff is more warm toned, so that's the foundation that I use all over my face, and I use this to do a little bit of color correcting under my eyes. That's what I did today, and I really think that that works out quite well for me. Now we're moving into medium coverage foundation. This is the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Foundation Full Coverage Moisturizer. It is $39.50, and it is a truly, truly fantastic SPF of 50 foundation. This is absolutely my pick to wear during the day. You know, we tend to wear our foundation in a thinner layer, which means you don't get as much protection from the sun, even if you have SPF in your foundation. So, for example, say you're putting on an SPF of 15 foundation, you are not getting much sun protection because you have sheared it out, and it was SPF 15 in the first place. I still combine this with other sunscreens, but I like to get as much protection as possible from the sun, so I like to add this in. And then on top of that, It's a gorgeous foundation on the skin. It has a long list of beneficial to the skin ingredients. It's actually part of why I wanted to get this video up today, is that this is, as of the day that I'm putting this up, available through a QVC special, and that is the best way to buy this particular foundation. They will have it come with a brush, and It Cosmetics makes the best brushes. I actually don't have too many negative things to say about this. So that is the color Light right there. I actually really love this foundation. I guess while I don't have too many cons with this foundation, the only thing I will say is that it says it's a full coverage moisturizer. I think it's a medium coverage buildable foundation. All right, moving into full coverage foundations. This is CoverFX's Total Coverage Cream Foundation, and I love it so much. But I have to be honest with you about cream foundation and really explain its purpose, because not only is cream foundation not talked about that much, a lot of people will not like certain elements of it. The reason cream foundation is tricky is because it's actually not formulated to set in the same way as a liquid foundation. It is meant to always stay soft and dewy on your skin, which is why it looks so pretty in photos. This is absolutely my top pick for photography. It is gorgeous in photos. It just looks absolutely flawless, and because it's full coverage, you do not need to have any kind of concealer with it. You just apply it all over your face and you look radiant. The con with this is that because it doesn't set, it doesn't last as long. Now, I've worn cream foundations for my whole life, and I feel like I get about 4 hours of wear out of them. You can absolutely touch them up, but you know that can be a bit difficult with dry skin. And of course, if you don't mind throwing it in your bag, it is a great foundation that you can keep with you all day and just keep reapplying, and you will always look flawless. So that is the shade in 25. I've since realized that I better suit the G shade range in CoverFX, so you can see it's a little bit pinker than my other foundation preferences. I will still be panning this completely. I just add a little bit more bronzer when I wear it. And then finally, for super full coverage foundation, the Jouer Essential High Coverage Cream Foundation. It just has to be in this video. This can be a lot to handle. It is so intense on the skin. It is absolutely what I would call stage makeup. Stunning from far away, and my top pick for full coverage up close. It still looks like foundation on your skin, but if you're okay with that, it's really a phenomenal foundation. So it is $38 for 0.68 ounces. I forgot to mention that this is only 0.35 ounces. So both of these full coverage foundations are a little more costly, but you shouldn't need as much with them. Before I end this video, I want to make a shout out to 2 other non-foundation products for the dry skin foundation routine. First off, I want to mention the Coconut Skin Smoothie Priming Moisturizer from First Aid Beauty. This is my top pick for primers for dry skin, but I want to emphasize that I mean for dry skin and not for other issues. Now, I actually use multiple primers in my foundation routine. I really like silicone primers for anywhere that I have expression lines. They're great for creating a barrier between your skin and your foundation so your foundation doesn't sink into those lines. And I also need to use an anti-blemish primer anywhere that I'm prone to acne. I definitely find that if I do use an anti-blemish primer in my hormonal acne regions, it certainly helps. But this provides hydration, and it provides it exceptionally well. Not only that, but it is very affordable. The full size of this is $28 for 1.7 ounces, which is a fantastic price to begin with. But if you're at all interested in this, you might want to pick up the size that I have here, which is the travel size. This is $14 for 0.75 ounces, so you're really not getting ripped off, all things considered. It's not one of those super jacked up prices for the small size. Lately, I've been noticing that I kind of prefer smaller sizes of primers since I use so many of them. It takes me a long time to go through any. But again, in my experience, this is the most effective at fighting the effects of dry skin. And then my top pick for powder is, of course, the CoverFX Perfect Setting Powder, and I owe it to Emily Noel for finally helping me understand why I like this so much. I adore Emily Noel. She is a very honest YouTuber. I think that she does such a good job putting thought into all of her videos. But she recently put this in her disappointing products video, and the reason is because she said she didn't like the fact that it doesn't add coverage. That is the moment that it clicked in my head as to why I like this so much. I really find that to be true. This actually sets my makeup without adding anything to it. When I have my foundation in place and I've determined that that's the coverage that I want for the day, I don't want to have to set it with a product that's going to add more coverage, and that's why I like this more than the Laura Mercier powder. This retails for $35 for 0.35 ounces, although it will last you a long time. As a person with dry skin, that's a perk for us with powder. We don't use anywhere near as much. I just wanted to mention these products because I have had experiences where I can be using a really great foundation for my dry skin, but if I go in with the wrong powder or the wrong primer, I can ruin everything. Alright guys, I hope you found this video helpful. Again, let me know in the comments below what your experiences have been. Please do make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful. Hit subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out, YouTube.